Hey, Sean. How's it going?
It's going well. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, thanks for coming by. We're here with Sean Baktiahri. Did I say that right?
That's correct, Sean Baktiahri.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and just tell us what you do.
So I live in Newburyport. I'm a licensed realtor in the states of Massachusetts and New Hampshire. I work with Compass Real Estate. My office now is in Portsmouth and Andover. I'm also the founder and co-owner of Seacoast Vacation Rentals, which is a full-service short-term rental manager. We manage about 65 Airbnb properties from Portsmouth down through Rye, Hampton, Salisbury, Plum Island, Newburyport, and some other micro markets. So right now I'm focused on growing and managing the short-term rental business, helping clients buy and sell and invest in real estate, and of course, being a dad to 3-year-old twin girls, which is a full-time job in itself.
I can imagine. Dad group right here. You're in South Carolina too, right?
Yeah, so I licensed in Mass, New Hampshire, but own investment properties in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and Southwest Florida.
We'll get more into that kind of because you got a lot going on. You're marketing the rentals, the real estate, and you're all over the place, but in a good way.
Yeah.
How do you find time for it with twins?
It's funny because prior to jumping into real estate, I worked in corporate finance in Boston. And I was probably working, 40-ish hour weeks. I thought that was a lot of work. Now I probably work 80-hour weeks, but it doesn't feel
more fun, right?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like I'm working more. It feels like I'm working less. I think mainly because I'm enjoying what I'm doing now more. I enjoy building my own business and having control over the growth of it and building the brand and having direct contact and influence on the clients that I'm helping. So I don't even know how I find time, to be quite honest. I think I just have a thoughtful and caring wife that supports me and allows me to put effort into these things that I enjoy doing. And my clients have been awesome too, so they make it enjoyable. But it doesn't feel like I'm working as much as I am. But if you ask anyone around me, they'll say that I work too much.
Yeah, that's how it is with a lot of small business owners, right? So did that kind of play into the motivation to start what you're doing as far as the working at, in finance or?
Yeah, so I was in finance for 10 years.
What drove it?
It was a good 10 years, but I knew fairly early on in my professional financial career that I probably wasn't cut out to climb the corporate ladder my whole life. My father is an entrepreneur himself. He moved here from Iran when he was 19 years old with no parents, no friends, no family, just landed in Boston and made a life for himself and met my mom and now owns his own engineering company. So I think my dad played a big influence when I was young in wanting to also be entrepreneurial myself and wanting to grow my own business and wanting to help others directly. So yeah, I think the inspiration came from my dad. And
right on.
I think the motivation came after a couple of years working in corporate finance, just knowing that I wanted more and wanted to build something as opposed to report to middle management my whole life.
Yeah. Are there any pivotal, I know when I quit my day job, I remember the day that I did it and gave my notice like it was yesterday, but are there any pivotal moments either when you decided to do it or early on that kind of stick out that are kind of changed the trajectory of where you went?
I remember this vividly, and it probably sounds weird coming out of my mouth, but before I tell the story, I do like to preference with my time in finance was great. My coworkers were great.
Yeah.
I learned so many skills during those 10 years in finance that have transitioned well into what I do now. So I have no regrets. I'm actually grateful for my time in finance. However, I do remember one pivotal moment where I was just tired and fed up with the mundane commute in and out of Boston and the mundane day-to-day tasks that I was basically in charge of doing. And something happened that annoyed me in the office. And I remember going to my manager and trying to articulate how I felt and feeling like my manager couldn't empathize with me. So I drove home. It was a 2-hour drive back to Newburyport from Boston with traffic.
Jeez.
I drove home and I put Mumford & Sons on and I saw, this sounds so weird, I saw a shooting star it was 7 p.m. in the winter, so it was dark. I saw a shooting star go over 95 and I said to myself, that's a sign to make a decision. And I went to Columbia for my cousin's wedding that weekend and set my notice in while I was in Columbia and came back with a little bit of fear, but more excitement than anything. A weight was lifted off my shoulders, and now I could pursue building a short-term rental business and helping others directly and seeing what would come of it.
It's a scary moment, but it's
Yeah,
like,
it is scary. But I was lucky. Again, I had the support of my family to make the decision. I had saved up enough money to give myself 1 year's worth of living expenses. So if I failed at what I was trying to do, I could live for a year. And so yeah, so I pretty much planned for a year's runway and also had support. But it, in hindsight, knock on wood, it's worked out well so far.
And you didn't have kids then either, right?
Right, no kids. It naturally would have been much harder with kids. I lost my benefits and lost my predictable monthly income, and had to work mainly off of commission. And I was also cleaning my short-term rentals myself.
Oh, you had rentals back then too?
I had 2 rentals back then. So while I was in finance, I invested into a 3-bedroom condo in Hampton, and then I invested into a 1-bedroom condo in Hampton. So I had 2 short-term rentals prior to quitting corporate America, and so that also gave me a little bit of a cushion to work off of.
So the rental stuff started before even your real estate stuff. So I didn't realize that.
Yeah, people always ask me how long I've been in real estate. I've been a licensed realtor. This is my 4th full year as a licensed realtor. But I've been active in real estate investing prior to that. So I feel like I've been in the industry for longer than I'm licensed for.
Right.
But yeah, so I was into short-term rentals, managing short-term rentals, and doing all that prior to leaving my corporate finance job.
I feel like a lot of people who know they want to go into like the entrepreneurial lifestyle, I guess, or start a business, that hurdle of quitting the day job and just starting is one of the hardest things. People ask me like, how did you do it? You just got to do it, right?
Yeah.
As long as you know you have a decent service or item that is in demand, you just got to do it.
Yeah, I think it is. It's hard to tell people you just have to do it because it sounds easier than it is.
Yeah.
And when I was going through conversations in my head about, making the leap into building my own business on my own, it was hard. But I do credit myself and I credit others for just making the leap, because the worst thing that can happen, and this is what I told myself, the worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't work out. I can go back into the industry that I left. In the job interviews, I'll explain why I left, and more often than not, I would think the job interviewer would be more impressed than dissatisfied in the confidence to try to build something. And so, my worst case scenario wasn't that bad, and I think most people's worst case scenarios isn't that bad. And once you realize that and you have support from others, then then you should be in a position to give it a go.
Right on. Yeah. I mean, so going back to when you started and the overall theme of marketing, I want to hit on, because as we sit here today, you have a lot of marketing going on for everything you're doing, but did you necessarily have like a marketing strategy, or did you just kind of wing it? Or tell me about your marketing at the very start of everything.
Yeah. So again, prior to jumping into real estate full time, I had 3 roles in corporate finance. I was in sales for a little while. I was in marketing for a little while. And then I moved to a new group called the client experience team. So I had sales, marketing, and client experience background in finance. And those are all 3 skills that are hard to teach in school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt lucky to have been in those roles. And I took a lot from those roles to what I do now. So I had a little background in marketing. When I switched to real estate full time, I knew I wasn't going to be the most experienced realtor, naturally.
Mm-hmm.
But I did tell myself I was going to focus on a couple of things I had control over. Number 1, I was going to be the most responsive realtor. So if someone reached out, I was going to respond right away. I was always going to be available if people needed me. And I feel like that alone sets people apart from the vast majority of other realtors, is just being responsive and available. Number 2, I wanted to be, and this also sounds kind of corny, but I wanted to be like the nicest realtor in my market. I learned quickly that it's a pretty cutthroat industry. And so I just wanted to be one of the few that just prioritizes kindness as a value to both customers, colleagues, and others in the industry. And I can control those 2 things. The last thing I focus on that I can control is my social media presence. I felt like I had, prior to leaving finance, I was involved in social media and a couple other side hustles. And I felt like I had an advantage there. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of realtors that were super active on social media. So I said, I'm going to be the most active in social media in my market. I'm going to watch other realtors in other markets and see what they do online and try to copy what I like from them. And so I've, 5 years later, I'm still doing those 3 things. I'm still focusing on being available and responsive. I'm still focusing on being extremely kind and nice to others, and I'm still focused on being extremely active on social media.
So let's dive deeper into the social media, because that's evolved. What year was it when you quit? When you started, it was like 2000.
It was 2000. I want to say 2019 is when I jumped into real estate.
2020, yeah. So even since then, obviously we had COVID, but and all the social media and digital marketing stuff has changed exponentially. How has like your approach changed? What do you do exactly? Let's give a little insight to maybe a younger realtor out there looking to start. Like, how has what you've done on social media, what did it look like in 2018, 19, and what does it look like today?
So when I first started, it was a lot of photo posts. I was posting pictures of the deals I was working on the properties I was going under agreement on the properties that were selling. So it was a lot of picture posts and maybe some stories mixed in there. And it was mainly on Instagram. Today, I'm active on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. There are a number of other social media platforms, but I think if you can just focus on a few and do a few good, that's better than trying to do all of them fairly good. Mm-hmm. So I focus on 3 platforms: Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And in addition to picture posts, I'm on the business that I'm doing, I'm trying to add value now through advice and guidance about what I think from a short-term rental perspective. Like I try to add content that people can use to analyze short-term rental deals, number one, and I try to do a lot more videos. So like this podcast here, this is something I wasn't doing 4 or 5 years ago. This is the second podcast I've done this year. I would love to do 4 podcasts a year just to get myself out of my comfort zone, right, and get some video content to push out on our social media platforms, because it's another way that we can get in front of our audience and another reminder to our audience about what we do. And the more we are out there in front of folks, the higher the likelihood they'll remember that I'm a realtor in the event that a family or friend or they want to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. Right.
It's all about finding, so there's like a million different platforms and strategies to social media marketing, especially for real estate agents. It's all about finding where your clients are, right? They're not always on, if you're looking for sellers, people who have like $2 million, $1 million houses in Newburyport, they're not on TikTok, they're on Facebook and maybe Instagram. So it's about, like with our clients that we run their marketing, it's about being top of mind, like you mentioned, and going to where your clients are. And in the case of an agent wanting to be a seller, you want to find the sellers, the older crowd that have money and have a home and need to sell it. So really kind of focusing on what's going to be the most beneficial is a good place to start, I think, rather than doing a little bit of everything. Yeah. Especially there's the new Instagram. I already forget the name of it. Threads. Yeah, I signed up on day one. I already forget the name. But there's a million different places. So yeah, what's like been one of the most successful, do you think? Whether it's like listing videos or just things you do between listings, it's one of the most successful marketing tactics that you've come across.
So I don't know if there's one specific post or video, but I will say, I think one of the things I do that not all realtors do is that I have one account on Instagram, one account on Facebook, one account on LinkedIn. I don't have a business account and a personal account. Everything is meshed together because Sean Baktiahri is a friend, a husband, a father, a realtor, a short-term rental investor. Mm-hmm. So my personal philosophy is that you don't need a professional account and a personal account. One account works best because people that follow you want to follow you as a human and they want to learn from you as whatever it is that you're doing as a profession. I don't think you need to divide the two. This is a personal opinion, but I'm pretty adamant on it. Mm-hmm. And I think I try to post a good amount of business content as well as personal content. And with my twins, everyone who follows me knows that I post a lot about my twin girls. I just have a lot of fun doing it.
I've seen the morning snacks. I've seen that one.
And so, meshing personal and business together on your social media platform, to me, makes you more relatable and more genuine. And so that's been pretty successful for me. And I see a lot of other realtors dividing the two. And I'm sure there's good reasons to do so. But for me personally, this is what works.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I just think as long as you can keep, like, if you have strong, like, political views or something, as long as you can keep that stuff away from it. But having, not splitting up to, like, different business accounts is ideal, because then you're just splitting up the ways you have to get attention.
Yeah, it's almost. I feel like I shouldn't say this, but it's almost obvious to say don't post things that could divide folks, like politics
Right.
or religion. So I try to be business and personal. I don't push any of my beliefs on anybody, and so I think by being conscious about that, it helps online.
Do you run ads? I know you said, so I assume your one page is a personal page.
Yeah, so I have, well, actually, I couldn't even tell you. I know for a fact my Facebook page is personal.
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn obviously is personal. Instagram, I think, is technically a business account.
Okay.
I've experimented with ads, very, very small paid, like targeted marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I haven't had much success with it, mainly because I haven't put the time into learning how to do it most effectively. And I've come to the conclusion that I'm probably not going to spend a lot of marketing dollars on paid online ads, although I do see the benefits. I'm going to spend time on paying professional videographers like you and professional photographers to shoot content once a quarter for half a day. And my money spent on the professional videographer to get video content back in return to post on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn goes a lot longer than me trying to do paid advertising. And it's probably, in the long run, less expensive. So my focus is investing in now it's investing in professional video content, and that's where services like yours come into play.
Yeah, we do run a lot of ads for clients, but if you, and Sean, you're like a special case where you have a pretty big following. Like I see your client events you have with big turnouts, and if you can push out content on the regular and you get lots of attention from it, then right on. I mean, that you're cruising along with that.
Yeah, I definitely see the benefit in paid advertising, and eventually it would be good to have somebody hired or a virtual assistant to do that for me. I just don't have the mental bandwidth to do it with everything else I'm trying to focus on.
You don't have it's just you, right?
Well, it was just me. I just hired my first full-time employee, my executive assistant, Hannah Murray, and she is unbelievable. So now I'm in a place where, the real estate market is shifting a bit. It's a more challenging market this year than it's been in years past.
Right.
But the decision I made was to hire an executive assistant to take a lot of the administrative tasks off my plate so that I could focus on better serving my clients and being out there more, as opposed to focusing on the paperwork and the signatures.
Right.
And the other administrative stuff that no one sees online.
I can imagine having that time back is huge to be able to put towards growing or just be family time or whatever that you want to put your time to. You mentioned that it's changing a little bit, the market. What do you see as far as, like, I know we're coming out of a crazy time with like the COVID real estate era, with like no inspections and stuff selling crazy high and crazy fast. How do you see it in 6 months or a year? What do you think is going to change from the way it's been in the last even just 6 months? Yeah,
so this year's been more challenging than years past. I think for a couple of reasons. Mainly, there's still like record low inventory. There's not enough homes for sale for the amount of buyers that are in the market. So number one, there's an inventory shortage that's challenging for buyers. Number two, rates are higher than they've been in the last couple of years. I think we're in the 7% on average, whereas during COVID, we were as low as 3%. And so although a 7% 30-year interest rate is still lower than the 30-year average interest rate, it's low when you compare it to what was recently 3%. So there's this higher interest rate, low inventory, and still a lot of people that need to buy homes. And so it's just been challenging in that way. But the buyers that are patient, that are working with local realtors who are well connected to other colleagues in the area, are the ones that are going to probably have more success, because they're going to be informed when coming soons are coming to the market. And sometimes, well, in my opinion, when you have better relationships with other local realtors, it likely benefits your clients in the event that there's offers that are fairly similar.
Do you think there will be, like, if you could sum it up in a word or two, what would be the biggest difference in a year? Like, I know there's litigation going on where buyers, agents potentially won't get fees from the sellers. Like,
I'll be honest. I'm not an expert on that topic, although I've been following it quite closely, and my brokerage Compass has been following it quite closely and informing us. Until there's a result with this quote unquote litigation. It's business as usual. But for those that are listening, the headlines is that sellers may not be required to pay the buyer's agent broker's fee like they've, I put this in quotes, been required in the past. So now buyers might have to pay their buyer's agents out of their pocket as part of closing costs. So if this moves forward where sellers no longer are required and won't pay the buyer's agent fee, then there's going to be a major shift in the market, not a bad shift or a good shift, just a shift where buyer's agents are going to have to really articulate to their clients the value that they bring them. Mm-hmm. And so their clients can justify paying the buyer's agent fee. So that's going to be huge.
Right, because like half the, because when you have a buyer's client, you're like, it doesn't cost you a thing. I'll help you out and it's free. So now it'll shift a little bit if that happens.
Right.
Interesting. We'll see how that goes. So going back to marketing, how do you kind of keep up to date with like all the different trends and like what works? And I know there's like real estate marketing experts out there that will, kind of guide some people. There's podcasts, there's marketing publications. What do you do? Just peeling back the layers, get an insight into how you run things. What do you do to keep up to date with that stuff?
So I do two things. Number one, I'm really focused on consistency. So I have goals I'm trying to reach with my business. One of those goals is posting on social media 5 times a week. It sounds silly, but it keeps me accountable and it keeps me consistent. So number one, just being consistent, because when you're consistent, you learn through doing yourself. So just by being consistent, I've learned what's worked and what's not worked. Secondly, I try to learn something new every day. So I try to read and or listen to a podcast every single day so that I could learn something new. Some of the podcasts or some of the things that I read are business related. Some of them are real estate related. Some of them are marketing related. But as a realtor, you're in your car a lot. I think I'll be driving to 4 appointments today. This is the first of 4. So I'm going to be in the car a lot, and I've got my podcast already lined up, and nice. I'm hoping to take something away from them. So to stay up to date on things, I just try to keep learning. And it doesn't have to be business related. It doesn't have to be marketing related, but oftentimes it is. And, for people that are close with me, I've given specific podcast ideas out. I've been giving book recommendations out. 2 podcasts in particular is Bigger Pockets. If you're a real estate investor or want to get into real estate investing, Bigger Pockets has been influential with me. I learn something new every episode.
Awesome.
That's a big one. And then the Tom Ferry Experience. He can be a little corny, but I will say there are golden nuggets in a lot of the Tom Ferry podcasts, and there are episodes that are specifically geared towards marketing with Jason Pantana. And so those are just 2 podcasts that I listen to fairly consistently and oftentimes get new ideas.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat where it's just always taking in information, and like there might be 5% of it that really helps you, and you never know. So like listening to podcasts and books are huge. So if you could, either this is young Sean in 2018 or a brand new agent today that's struggling to do what you do, be a real estate agent. Let's just go with that versus investing. What would you what's some advice that you would tell yourself from when you first started, or someone today that's trying to get into it and is struggling and just they feel like there's a million agents and they don't, and how could I be successful?
This is what I tell other new agents or younger agents. I say the best thing you can do if you're just getting started in the industry is joining a successful team with mentorship, systems, and a good operation. It's something that I didn't have when I started, although I did have a great experience at the boutique brokerage I started out at, and I did have a mentor there. If I were to start all over again, I would 100% look for an established team. You end up making less on the deals you do, but you end up gaining so much more in the knowledge and opportunities and leads that you just naturally get from an already successful team. So it'll accelerate your learning curve by starting on a team. That's the biggest thing for me.
And then you can like go on your own, go to another team, just do whatever's best for you.
Yep. Oftentimes staying on a team best fits the personality of an agent. Sometimes starting on a team and then learning over time that you're better as a solo agent ends up happening. But you shouldn't, I don't think you should think too far in advance. You should just think what's best for me now as a new agent. 99 times out of 100, the best thing to do is to start on a good established team, accelerate your learning curve, learn the industry, learn from others, and then figure it out from there.
Right on, right on. So tell me about a specific challenge that you can remember related to marketing when you start, like, so going back to when you started, what was a big obstacle that you can remember, if you can remember one, that you had to overcome, as far as like, it could be where to post your listing content, or did you start using using photography you took by yourself on listings, and then you realize obviously you need to hire a professional, or what's kind of some insight into that?
That's a good question. The biggest challenge regarding my marketing path, basically.
Yeah, I would imagine just being seen in a sea of realtors is probably a big one.
Yeah. Okay. I'd say the biggest challenge is the mentality that realtors need to act like realtors. When you first start out in this industry, in any industry for that matter, naturally you feel like you have to act like everyone else. My advice to myself, going back, and to others, is to be your genuine self. Don't try to act like others. However, try to watch other successful people from a distance, watch what they do, take the things you like that they do successfully, and bring it back to your personality. So I think the biggest challenge is more of a branding challenge, and it's just be yourself. You don't have to act like you think you're supposed to act. And the more genuine you are, the more relatable you are, and the more relatable you are, the easier it is to work with you. So that I think it's more like a mentality branding thing than it is a physical marketing tactic.
Yeah, I love that. Just being unique in yourself and not fake is huge, because if you're some fake personality in your marketing, people will sniff that out right away when they talk to you.
Yeah, and I have this, like, sometimes I have this mental challenge where, I wear a backwards hat every once in a while, and I think to myself, what are others going to think of me as a realtor with a backwards hat on?
I wear a hat every day, as you can see.
Truthfully, none of my clients care.
Yeah.
All they care is that I care about them, I service them well, I work hard for them, I negotiate on their behalf, I stand out with the marketing and the exposure and the PR that I'm able to provide for my listings. If I perform for my clients and I service them well, that's all that matters. And when I put myself in the shoes of a consumer, if somebody does that for me, that's all I care about. And I put a lot of weight in others being genuine too. So I think that would be my answer to that question.
Yeah, and it makes it more personable for them. They feel like obviously they're getting their needs met. They also feel like they know you, and you're not just some robot, or it's just, they feel like a friend at the end of the day. And on that, I wanted to talk about what is it, client appreciation events you do?
Yep.
What are those? So tell me about that. I saw one at the Deck in Salisbury,
They're so much fun. So I told you that one of my annual metrics is to be consistent with social media posts. Another one of my annual metrics, and I'll show you actually in my phone, I keep this with me at all times. I got my business goals on one side, and I've got my marketing plan on the other side.
Oh, awesome. Old school too, right on paper. I like it.
I have 7 goals down here. Goal number 5 is 4 events a year. This is new. It's new for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's really fun to throw client appreciation events where you pay the bar tab for your guests and clients, family and friends. Number 2, there's a massive benefit in being able to get in front of your clients face to face as opposed to over email or your phone. And the big surprise that a lot of people discover when they talk to me about my events is honestly how inexpensive these events are. So my most recent event was at the Deck in Salisbury, an amazing outdoor 2-level bar and restaurant that,
water views,
that overlooks the Merrimack and Newburyport skyline. It was the perfect place for a summer social. So I partnered with Chris Petsy at Seacoast Vacation Rentals, my co-business partner, and I partnered with a local lender, Riley Frazier. We split the bar tab 3 ways. All of our guests arrived. They had free drinks for 2 hours, and it was another way for us to get in front of our clients. And equally as important, it was a way for all of our clients to network amongst each other and maybe find synergies and friendships amongst each other. And I'm always super transparent. It was $900 a person. So $900 out of my pocket, $900 out of the lenders, and $900 out of my business partner's pocket for an amazing time, good content, relationship building, and I would spend that easily again. And so we're going to do 4 events a year.
That's all, and there's no way in hell that they're going to forget who you are and that you're a realtor, right? I mean, you stay top of mind.
No.
And if someone asks them, for a referral for a real estate agent, they're most likely going to be like, Sean's the best. Look what he does for his clients, and it also helps you too.
I've already gotten a referral out of that event, and I saw one of my clients last night who was at that event and urged me to have a drink with them on their tab because they were thanking me for a fun time.
Oh.
So it's one of those things where people really appreciate it. There's no obligation to come.
Right,
if you're
right.
free, come to the event and have a good time.
Yeah, and your sphere offline, that's like a good offline marketing tactic.
Next time I do an event, can you do like a video promo? Can you be there and shoot it all?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, deal.
If it's at the deck and if I get to join the bar tab.
Absolutely.
All right,
100%.
deal. All right, so let's break back the layer one more level and talk about what you do outside of work. How do you keep yourself sane? What's a hobby that you enjoy?
So my whole life, my biggest passion and hobby and focus was soccer. My dad played for his national team. When he came here, naturally, I built a passion for the sport that he loved. I ended up getting a full scholarship to Providence College and playing Division I soccer. And then after that, I played semi-professional for the Seacoast United Phantoms. Then after that, I started my own men's club, which ended up having success on the national level, South EFC.
Okay.
I've always loved soccer. Today, I still love soccer, but unfortunately, my body's breaking down, sadly. At still a young age of 35 years old, I have a bad back, bad knees, and I can't play as much as I used to, but my passion is still there for the sport. And as an alternative of playing 3 times a week, I now watch the sport consistently. I'll play once a week if I'm lucky, and I'm now going to coach my girls this
perfect.
upcoming fall. So I'm the 3 and 4-year-old Newburyport Tots soccer coach.
Full circle.
So that's always been my passion. It's like when I'm out there on the field, it's less about the sport now and more about just getting in a state of flow. Like for me, my state of flow is just running around the soccer field with my teammates. For others, it's painting. For others, it's reading. For me, it's just running around, sweating, kicking the ball, being fairly competitive, trying not to hurt yourself. So that's my personal passion.
Yeah, I mean, when you're starting your own business, whether it's real estate or video production or marketing, whatever, you work a ton of hours, and it's super important to just do something that is not related to what you're doing to keep yourself sane and not burn out.
Yeah, when I was younger, I felt like my identity was soccer. And so the older you get, the more you lose that passion, naturally through family and work and all that. So you lose a bit of your identity. My new sport, I tell this to everyone, my new sport is real estate. I love real estate. It's like, it's fun. It's competitive. It could be a team sport. And so a lot of when I was younger, all my focus was into my sport of soccer. Now my focus is into the sport of real estate and helping my clients and building that business.
Yeah, it's still good to get a little bit of the sport of soccer in every now and again.
Everyone needs an escape.
Yeah,
everyone needs an escape.
A little bit. Burnout sucks. I've been there.
Yep.
So, all right, let's wrap it up. Where can our viewers get in touch with you, see your stuff? What's the best place to find Sean?
Simply my first name, last name.com, SeanBaktiahri.com. If you go to that website, all my social media links will be there. My YouTube page will be there. The link to Seacoast Vacation Rentals, my property management company, will be there. So SeanBaktiahri.com is the best place to reach me.
We'll put that all in the description too. Well, Sean, thank you for your time. It was great to get some insight into what you're doing, even though we've worked together here and there over the years. So I follow you on social media, which is always good to see. But I appreciate the time that you took to come in here. Obviously, you have a busy day, so great to talk to you. I'd like to thank all our viewers. Episode 1, by the way. Sean's the first guy. Episode 1. So hopefully we have some viewers, but I'd like to thank
a lot of pressure. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you for watching, and definitely follow along to see some more, to get some more insight into some local business owners and kind of what's working for them. Until next time, we'll see you then. Thanks, everyone.